Hello, good evening. My name is Mweteeli. I'm an author, speaker, and training consultant. And here we are. As promised, I am going to be covering chapter 2 today. And so we need to begin. So, Play to Win, chapter 2, which is entitled Why Play. The title of this is Why Play. If I can just fix this. Technology hits, you know the Murphy's law, right? If something can go wrong, it will, and at the worst possible time. Okay, there it is. I'm so sorry for that. Let me just make sure that the sound is okay so that you're able to hear me correctly. You just give me a minute. There you go. I try to turn it on the other side and that doesn't work. I think we can do that. All right, that will have to do. Good, whatever time it is, wherever you are. My name is Christine, and it's just gone 5 p.m. in Nairobi, Kenya now. I'm talking about my book, Play to Win. We started this yesterday. This is Play to Win, and today we are going to be covering chapter 2, which says Why Play. The title of the chapter is Why Play, and of course, as you can imagine, that's a rhetorical question. But before we get into that, let me do a quick recap in case someone wasn't there yesterday. We had talked about I went through the introduction where I gave why did I wind up writing this book. I'm not going to go into that at all, but I'm going to talk about what we did in chapter 1. And chapter 1 was life isn't fair. Actually, that's the subtitle of the book, that life isn't fair. So that we are going to now go into, okay, let me first recap what we talked about in chapter 1. We were talking about life isn't fair, and when we said life isn't fair, what we meant was there is something you do better than everyone else in the world. There's something that gives you an unfair advantage, so that if anyone competed with you in that particular area, you would come out on top. Now, it's important that you identify that thing in which you have an unfair advantage. It's important that you become great at something. Yeah, and you are naturally wired to be good at something, and therefore identifying that thing and then being great at that thing is your obligation in life. All right, and now that leads to the next question, which is the title of this discussion today, which is chapter 2, Why Play. Now, before I go into that, I want to assume you have already downloaded your free ebook, Play to Win. I'm offering this book absolutely free of charge. If you go to my website, softskills.co.ke, you will see a tab there that says Play to Win. And if you put in your name and email address, you'll be able to download absolutely free the book Play to Win. All right, now, like I said at the beginning, I am in the middle of doing another book, and so I figured I've already made a lot of sales of this book. Why don't I offer it? If anyone wants to read this book, they can read it absolutely free. So that's really my gift to you. All right, now, why play? Why would you want to compete? Why would you want to even get into your area of unfair advantage? And I can think of at least 3 reasons why you would. I can think of 3 reasons why you would. We have agreed that you have a specific talent, a gift. You have something that is your unique ability. You have that thing that makes you different from everyone in the world. So the question we are answering today is, why would you want to play? Why would you want to even compete in this area? And I want to give you at least 3 reasons. Now, you will notice as I'm going through this, I am not going verbatim through the book. I've already offered you the book. You can read the book. So I'm trying to collect the thoughts. I'm trying to give you the conclusions, the summarized version of what you will get through the book. So I'm not going through the book verbatim. I'm giving you my thoughts, and it's been quite a few years since I wrote the book anyway, so I'm assuming that my knowledge base has grown. So I'm giving you a much wider perspective on what I think of this. Now, let me give you 3 reasons why you would want to play at your best. Why would you want to play to win? Why would you want to identify and play in your area of unfair advantage? And the first reason is you really don't have a choice. You really don't have a choice. I remember and if you know me at all, you know that I recently had my business crash with this whole COVID pandemic and all. And people are like, wow, you've managed to pick up, you're so brave, you're this. And I was telling them, guys, it has nothing to do with that. I simply had no choice. Now, when I say you don't have a choice, what I mean is this. God has gifted you with these gifts, these talents, these abilities in order for you to be able to create a living. So the way you create a living, now I'm not talking about you getting by. I actually like a speaker who said this in something I was listening to just this morning. He said, don't work for a living, work for a life. There's a big difference between working for a living and working for a life. When you work for a life, your work is your life. Your work is your life, so that what you're doing is something you would do whether or not it was making you money. It's your passion. It's what energizes you. It's what you get up to do. All right. So when people, like I said, I actually mentioned this yesterday, that someone was asking me, Christine, how do you make any money? You're training for free. You're all the time doing videos. You're offering stuff for free. This is something I'm passionate about. This is something I like to do. This is something I would do if no one ever paid me for it. It's my passion. It's my gift. So I'm telling you that there is a way in which you're living. Because if you're, okay, let's take an example of a singer. I have a gift in music, and I would rather not do music, and I am struggling to run a farm. Maybe I am struggling to raise goats or raise chickens. That for me is so uphill, when it would have been so much easier to pursue what I am gifted in. So when I say you really don't have a choice, what I am saying is your circumstances, your livelihood will be made so much better if you're playing in your area of unfair advantage. So why do you want to play? Why do you want to compete? You really don't have a choice. Another reason you don't have a choice is this. The world is a very competitive place. The world is a very, very competitive place. Whatever it is you do, whether you have a job, whether you have a business, there's 10,000 other people in your local city who can do that. And that's a very conservative number. Whatever it is that you do, there's a lot of other people who can do it. So why not play in your area of unfair advantage? Why not play where you're likely to win? I always give this example when I'm talking about unfair advantage. If today I was running a race against David Rudisha, what would be my chance of winning? Absolutely slim to none. Why do I want to medal in athletics? I don't have a gift in it. Why don't I work in my area of advantage? That's where I have any chance at all. That is where I have any chance. So really, you do not have a choice. The only way you have any hope of succeeding through your life is playing in your area of unfair advantage, identifying your gift. And don't worry, tomorrow we are going to do chapter 3 on what game you're playing, where we're going to be identifying your specific area of unfair advantage. So don't worry, that is tomorrow's lesson. And so first reason you want to play is you really don't have a choice. It's the only way you're going to be able to make a life, not just a living. All right. Number 2, the world needs you to. The world needs you to. Think about some of the major inventions that have happened in the world. And everything that you're looking at in the room where you're sitting, whether you're driving, wherever it is that you are, everything that you're looking at first existed only in the mind of the person who invented it. Somebody had to tell themselves, I have a gift in this and I'm going to do this about it, which is how we wound up having that particular thing. Anything around the room, I have in front of me a laptop, a phone, I have a notebook, I have books. All these are things that somebody decided to get out and create. So whatever it is, whether you create something tangible, whether you create something intangible, whatever it is that your gifting is in, the world needs you to operate in that area. The things that all of us operating in our area of gifting is how the world works together, which is what is so tragic about comparing yourself to other people, which is what is so sad about becoming miserable because somebody has something you don't have. We were not put in this world to all have the same things. Everybody has a completely different set of abilities, of capabilities, of things that have been given to them to furnish their living. So you shining in your area, me shining in my area, everybody shining in their area is how the world rotates around. And therefore you have an obligation. The world needs you to operate in your area of gifting. All right. And number 3, I said I was going to give you 3 reasons why you want to play. Why do you want to compete? Why do you want to identify and play in your area of unfair advantage. The number 3 is that your life is so much more satisfactory when you do so. Your life is so much more satisfactory when you do so. There's a concept that is known as being in flow. Being in flow is sometimes referred to as being in spirit, is sometimes be referred to as being in the element. There is something, there's an X factor that takes you over when you're in your area of unfair advantage. So that, for example, mine has to do with communication, it has to do with writing, it has to do with speaking. And I can assure you that sometimes I read something I wrote myself and I'm inspired. In other words, I wasn't the one who wrote it. There is the me that is inside me that takes over. Now, you might want to call that the Holy Spirit, whatever it is that you call that. There is something about being in flow. There's athletes who say that when they are in their zone, they forget it ceases, they've stopped feeling their body, and it's like they're just running, they're just floating. If it's a swimmer, there is a way in which you discover you operate at your ultimate when you're in your area of unfair advantage. Your life is so much more satisfactory when you do that. I think in the world we are created, if I'm going to pick it out of the Bible, we're going to say this: God created us in his image, which makes us creatives. So when you're creating something, whether it be a system in the office, whether it be a completely new invention, whatever it is that is in your area of gifting, when you create something that didn't exist, there is a satisfaction to that which cannot be put in words. It can't be put in words. There is a great satisfaction you will find if you decide to operate in your area of unfair advantage. So I want to assume that we have answered why would you want to play in your unfair advantage. Actually, in the book, I had quoted Hebrews 12:1 that says, "Since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race that marked out before us." Life is a race. Life is a race. Whatever it is that we are doing, life is a race, and we were signed up at birth. So you really do not have a choice on whether or not you're going to compete. So you might as well compete where you are likely to win. Now, how are you going to know that you're going to win? You're going to operate in the area of unfair advantage. Now, you are going to operate in that thing which you find easy to do. I remember speaking at one point to a gentleman, and he had decided that I think in Africa we are socialized to think that science subjects are supposed to be for the males. It's a more difficult thing. So in as much as this guy found languages and literature and everything very easy to do, he felt like it was more macho for him to go for the science subjects. Bad mistake. There's a reason why you find things easy, which you find easy. There is a reason why you like what you like. That is your area of gifting. That is what God has put in you. So whatever it is that you find easy to do, actually a lot of times, and we are going to be talking about this when we talk about how to identify your talent. The reason we a lot of times don't acknowledge our talent is because we find this too easy to do. We think to ourselves, there must be something more difficult to do. Stop looking for something difficult to do. There's a reason why you like what you like. There's a reason you find this thing easy to do. It's your gifting, it's your talent, it's what you're good at. So you want to make sure that it also honors God. I'm just thinking as I'm sitting here. If God is investing in your life. And yesterday we were talking about the parable of the talents, where God has invested something in each one of us. Now, if God is an investor, he'll want a return. The way you can honor, the way you can worship, the way you can be grateful for the gift that has been given to you is by using this gift. So you do want to go ahead and utilize your gifting. You want to go ahead and be the best in the area that you are in. Identify this area, and like I said, we are going to go into how to identify that area. All right, now I want to quickly break. This one was a short one, and I'm still trying to stay inside the few minutes. I don't want to make this very, very long because we are doing this every day, and I want you to just allow a little time so that we can do this. Now, on points to ponder after chapter 2, I actually like this one a lot. The first question it asks you here is, what's the one thing you're proudest of doing, of accomplishing? You might want to write that down, because listen guys, we are under celebrated. Now, you're probably not celebrating yourself, and therefore you're not getting celebrated at all. Get yourself to celebrate yourself, okay? Think about what you're proudest of doing. Think about what you're proudest of doing. Recently, I was in a meeting and somebody asked me, what is the single best thing you've ever done for your career? And I said it was write a book. Hands down, there's nothing to think about it. Me becoming an author and writing books was the single best thing I ever did for my career. So I am proudest that I allowed myself, and it's a very scary thing, guys, to decide I'm going to write this down. No one has ever written it before. It's just it's coming out of my head and onto the paper. I don't know if anybody will like it. I don't know if anybody will approve, but I had to take the risk. It was the single best thing I ever did for myself. So write down what is the one thing that you're proudest of doing. Not that other people approved of, that you yourself were proudest of doing. What are you most proud of? Write that down. The next thing is this: describe that feeling of winning. Describe that feeling of winning, because a lot of times we try to motivate ourselves on the negative, avoiding pain. Turn it around. Remember what it felt like to win. If I'm going to go to my example of writing, I remember what the feeling of seeing my book, holding my book in my hand the first time. I was so thrilled. I was like, wow. Because I probably referred to this already, but when I went for a speaker's course, that was in about 206. The long story of how I became an author was I attended a conference in Nairobi, a wealth creation conference, and one of the trainings that they were selling was a speaker's course. Now, I was not exposed, possibly. I did not know that there is a speaker separate from a preacher. And that sounded attractive to me, so I decided I was going to take the speaker's course. Now, when I took the speaker's course, first class, first session, they said, if you're going to be a speaker, write a book. I thought that was a very abstract thought. I couldn't think, what do you mean I'm going to write a book? What would I write a book about? And then they said, the lessons of your life can teach another person. So I started to think, okay, I've opened and closed a lot of businesses. Maybe I could share these experiences with someone who might avoid the mistakes that I have made, and then my losses will have been beneficial. And this was the clincher. This was the thought that got me to actually write a book. They said, your book will live longer than you. Your book will go further than you. Now, I've had people call me from countries I haven't been in, and they're holding my book. I remember at one point someone called me from Sweden. Oh, my sister sent me your book. I have not been in Sweden. I was there's a feeling that you get, because I thought to myself, now go back to the time I'm saying when I first held my book in print. They give me before they ran the whole print, when they just gave me the sample that I was going to sign off for the print run to go, I felt such a feeling of satisfaction. That's the kind of feeling I want you to describe here in the points to ponder. You've already written the number one. What's the proudest thing you've ever done? What are you proudest of doing? Now describe the feeling that you felt. The reason you want to do that is, as you describe this feeling, you relieve the feeling. You live again that feeling. And it's a lovely, lovely, lovely inspired place to be when you do that. All right? Now, number 3 is a favorite one of mine. If you could write your own eulogy, what would you say? List a few things that you'd want to be remembered for. My first experience with this was at a conference that I attended, and we were, it was more like a seminar. It wasn't a conference, it was like a workshop. And we were told, write down your own eulogy. And the speaker was quite dramatic. They said, imagine yourself in a room full of people, and imagine a box in the middle of the room. And then imagine that box has you in it. And imagine all the people around who have shown up for your funeral service. Now, imagine the speeches that will be made. Imagine the things that will be said. Now open your eyes. Pull out a pen and pad and write down everything you'd want people to say about you when you're gone. I did not think, and then we were given 2 hours to do it. It wasn't something that, she rushed through. And for me, that was not an easy, first of all, I'm African and I don't want to imagine my death. Okay, let's get that out of the way. But I thought to myself, wow, this is a useful exercise. Because if you're writing your eulogy, if you're writing your eulogy, discussing those things that your life will have been about. What has my life been about? And at that point, they were teaching us something to do with managing your priorities and managing your time, because the things you will want to show up in your eulogy are the things you should be giving your time and energy now. This is a good thing to look at even right now when we are talking about your gifts and your talent. What do you want to have accomplished when this life is over? And listen, we are not promised tomorrow. I cannot promise you that I will do chapter 3 tomorrow. I will do chapter 3 tomorrow if God grants me life. We do not know. None of us knows if you're going to be here tomorrow. Now, assuming your life could be over any time, what would you like to have done with your life? Now, writing some of these things down are definitely going to sway the way you think. It's going to reorganize your priorities, don't you think? It's going to get you to the place where you're thinking, whoa, I should be spending more time in this thing because this is what I am passionate about. This is what I love. This is what I'd like my life to have been about. All right, so in summary, that is what chapter 2 is. It's asking you why play, and I'm assuming that you have come up with some real good reasons why you would want to play in your area of unfair advantage. I'm excited about tomorrow. We are going to be discussing how do you identify your unfair advantage. Remember, we already agreed everybody has something that they do better than everyone in the world. Some people have a lot of talents, some people have fewer talents, some people have very visible talents, other people have got not so visible talents, but everybody was wired with something that makes you special, that makes you different, that makes you able. So even as you go to identify where is your area of unfair advantage, I'll see you tomorrow, 5 p.m. East African time. Have a very good evening. Thanks for those who are here live. Bye-bye.